Good evening. Welcome to the December 6, 2016 meeting of the Milford Planning and Zoning Commission. If I can ask you at this time to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. May we please have roll call from left to right?
Richard Lutz.
Mike Dolan.
Edward Mead.
Carl S. Moore.
Scott Marlowe.
Tom Nickel.
Tom Panzella.
Jim Quish.
And I'm Anthony Sutton, Board Chairman. We are joined this evening by David Sulkus, City Planner, and Phyllis Leggett, our Board Clerk. Before we begin the agenda, one announcement as a housekeeping matter. The agenda item relative to 335 Meadowside Road will not be taken up this evening. This afternoon it was requested to be withdrawn from today's agenda, and it will appear on the December 20th, 2016 agenda of the Commission. That makes our first order of business 24 Maddox Avenue. It's the petition of Jeff Adelino for coastal management site plan review to construct a single-family residence on map 27, block 451, parcel 8, of which Black Labs LLC is the owner. Good evening, Mr. Adelino.
How are you? Jeff Adelino, 5 Mill Pond Close, Milford, Connecticut. Here before the board. Was tabled last time. We readjusted the roof line to make it fit inside the city guidelines for height requirements. So we're here before the board to seek approval. Can you hear me? To seek approval. Good?
Thank you. Before Mr. Sulkus returns, are there any questions for Mr. Adelino from the board? Seeing none, Mr. Sulkus, do you have any comment on the petition as filed?
I believe the applicant has met the request of the board from the last meeting.
Thank you. One more chance. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, does anyone wish to make a motion relative to the petition? Mr. Grant.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for 24 Maddox Avenue.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Nickel. Does anyone wish to be heard on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Adelino.
Thank you.
Our next item of business is 687 East Broadway. This is the petition of Thomas Lynch, Esquire, for coastal management site plan review approval to construct a single-family residence on map 22, block 474, lot 6, of which Tom McKiernan is the owner. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. John Wicko, 50 Broad Street. I'm here to explain, if needed, the revisions to the drawings or answer any questions that you have for the average grade calculation, which a new site plan was submitted by Coda Spody, which has a little grid, little chart, which I highlighted on your copies, which I handed out this evening. And also the cupola has been identified to the maximum height of 5 feet.
Thank you, Mr. Wicko.
Thank you.
Mr. Sulkus, do you have comment on the petition?
He has provided the information that the board asked for at the last meeting, which were the spot elevations and the cupola, which is meets the regulations of 5 feet.
Thank you, Mr. Sulkus. Are there questions from the board for Mr. Wicko or Mr. Sulkus? Seeing none, does anyone wish to make a motion relative to the petition? Mr. Grant.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for 687 East Broadway.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Moore. Does anyone wish to be heard on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Wicko.
Thank you, Chairman.
Our next item of business is 70K Avenue, West Shore Middle School. It's the petition of William Silver, Petroselli and Associates, Inc., for coastal management site plan review approval for the expansion of West Shore Middle School on map 65, block 66, parcel 12, of which the city of Milford is the owner.
Good evening. I am William Silver. I'm with Silver, Petroselli and Associates, architects and engineers, located at 3190 Whitney Avenue in Hamden, Connecticut. And I'm here representing the Aldermanic Permanent Schools Building Committee for this project. Probably most importantly, before I start, is to wish Phyllis a happy birthday. And besides that, sorry, he ratted it out, but I flushed it out of him. Anyway, the project. The project entails a programmatic expansion needed for the student population at the school, providing classroom spaces, a stage, larger music spaces, and a new and hardened administrative entry and office area for the staff and for the school. I'll quickly go through the site plan just to describe it. It's 10.4 acres. If you have the plans in front of you, it is fronted by K Avenue and Milford Point Road on the north and the east. North on this particular plan, or on your plans, is over on this side. So the right side is north. Nels Rock Road is a continuation of K Avenue, and it comes into the back side of the property there. The 10.4 acres pretty much stretches into and toward the Housatonic Watershed. It has been developed since the 1920s, first as the Aircraft Corporation of America, and then certainly as K Avenue School in 1949, and then eventually West Shore Middle School in 1993. The project existing conditions, this is the cam line, so we are on this side of the cam line, and here's the Housatonic Watershed well over to the right here. This is all developed property here, as well as neighborhoods. Jehovah's Witness property is here. Playfields, the existing ball field, basketball courts. We outlined the building in brown, which is about a 62,000 square foot footprint on both 1 and 2 stories of configuration. The existing paved areas are outlined in gray around the perimeter of the property. In your 6 drawing set, drawing C2 pretty much highlights the improvements that are being made to the property. The additions are pretty much as far away from the shoreland areas as possible here on the front of K Avenue, the small administrative addition. The green areas that we're highlighting are actually pavement areas that are being recovered or recaptured as grass or landscaped areas, so we're trying to vegetate more of it to keep the stormwater on site. Because we have tried to avoid taking the recreation area for any improvements, you can see we're keeping the parking areas pretty much the same around the perimeter of the building. We've improved the bus and the parent separation as much as we can with the tight frontage on K Avenue. And probably most importantly is that we've added 2 small parking areas. We've gone through the Wetlands Commission for 15 spaces back here and for 9 spaces up front on K Avenue. There is no standing water on the site. There is right now pretty much a drainage swale which has become a wetlands over the decades. It pretty much drains the pavement off of the Jehovah's Witness parking lot and then goes through this very heavily shrubbed and treed area that used to be clear, and now it's just completely overgrown, and we have no interest in going in there. So in terms of the CAM application, which is what this is for, because this commission already approved the 824 when it approved the capital plan for the capital funding and plan for the project years ago, there are no adverse impacts on the coastal resources. We have freshwater wetlands on the property, which I mentioned we've already been through with inland wetlands. That is related only to that small parking lot there of 15 spaces. And there is no adverse impacts for water-dependent uses because there is no water use on this property related to it. In terms of stormwater flow, half the property flows north toward Miller Avenue. With the city engineer, we've developed improvements in the existing stormwater system by adding the Coltec or the silt separation, deep catch basins and hooded structures to remove the silt and the fines from the north flowing systems, and coming out of the south toward this drainage swale, we are also adding a Coltec system. There is virtually no increase in impervious. There is a minor increase of impervious area that's related to the two little parking areas. But as you can see, we're also trying to recapture it with the vegetation. And so in terms of the CAM application, that's pretty much a summary, and I'll entertain questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Silver. Mr. Sulkus, do you have any comments on the petition?
Just a quick question for Mr. Silver. In the city engineer's report, he recommended a bioswale be put at the end of the parking lot to capture any solids that may sheet off before it hits the wetlands. Did you incorporate that in the plan?
We have a small vegetated structure there, and right now we're talking with the Director of Public Works about that bioswale. So to answer your question literally, no, we have not, but we have included vegetation and a swale on the downslope side of that parking lot.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Silver? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion relative to the petition. Does anyone wish to make a motion? Mr. Quish.
I would make a motion to approve with the caveat that the engineering department be satisfied with the ultimate solution in that parking area.
Is there a second? Mr. Nichol. Does anyone wish to be heard on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Silver. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing, and it is for 110 Shelland Street. It's the petition of Raymond Macaluso for special permit and site plan review approval to create a contractor's outside storage and operations yard on map 51, block 936, parcels 17M and 17N, of which Malico Realty is the owner. Good evening, Mr. Macaluso.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Raymond A. Macaluso, and I'm the owner of Westcott and Mapes with offices at 142 Temple Street, New Haven. Tonight I have Raymond Pear, my Vice President of Engineering, with me, and also Attorney Wynn Smith. We represent Malico Realty, LLC. Mr. Chairman and board, back in May 23rd of this year, Malico Realty received an enforcement order from the City of Milford Planning Zoning Board for site plan approval. In June 15th, Mr. Malico hired my firm to provide site plans that he already had been under order to provide. So we were hired to do complete survey, civil site plans, and hence we're before you tonight for the approval. What we have is approximately 3 acres on Shelland, and this is comprised of 2 parcels. Our intent is to make it one contiguous parcel. We now, with the contractor's yard that was already provided that he did the work, we have asked Mr. Malico to remove everything that was encroaching and he will once he's able to go back on the job site to do the work. Right now, he's not doing any work at all as far as moving material or storing anything of sort. In your plans and in your packet, you'll see that with the new plan, we now meet all the regulations. Everything complies under the zoning of the HDD. We have talked to all departments. All departments have approved our plans in accordance with their regulations, city engineer, DPW, health department. So we now meet all the requirements based on our plan, and the operation will be what we call a contractor storage yard, which we obviously need a special permit for. The statement of use is in your packet as well, and it's the principal operation is going to be, again, a storage yard for contractors' equipment, vehicles, merchandise, supplies, and materials under your regulation. The operation is going to be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. He is a contractor. And also on Saturdays and Sundays, possibly from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. He also does work for City of Milford on an emergency basis, snow plowing and other, if there's a break in the sewer line or whatever, and also for the state of Connecticut. So there may be times where he has to take a piece of equipment during the evening if he's called in, but this is only when there's an emergency from the City of Milford or state of Connecticut. It's not going to be normal operation. The operation, again, is going to be for the storage of his equipment. It's going to be screening of soil material, topsoil of such. It's also, he's going to have an excavator, a loader, raw soil material, and finished screened topsoil will be stockpiled on site, which we have bins. The additional storage would be roll-off dumpsters that he uses at times and is rented, and most of them are off-site because he'd rather see them off-site than on-site, otherwise he's not making money. The dust control, he will have a water truck on site. There is no utilities. There's no building. He does have a trailer right now which will be removed. There's no sanitary and no electrical. So it's really going to be only used for a contractor storage yard with no buildings or anything. As far as the buffer, we're providing a 20-foot buffer along the back of the property, which is Tranquility. It goes up, and we're going to have this 20-foot buffer with various plantings, more arborvitaes for screening, and then all the drainage. There is a drainage from the City of Milford that goes right through his property, but he is taking that water that's draining from the City of Milford onto his property, which then he will go through the proper procedures of cleansing it in accordance with the city engineer, and then it'll exit onto Shelling. There's not going to be really any activity except, again, for contractor storage yard. Directly across the street, you have Milford Power in this area. You have Bic over to the west. And there is another piece of property next to him that is a contractor's storage yard, which there is perception that he is also doing the work. He is not doing any work out there. The property to the west, that's another contractor. We have no idea if he has a permit or not, and it's none of our business. So our concern is only on the 3 acres that we have before you. Again, we met with Mr. Sulkus. We're trying to conform based on the enforcement order, and I believe we have. He also allows the City of Milford, when they needed to cut trees in this area back here where the easement, he's allowed them, and he's trying to be a good neighbor, and unfortunately, he did make a mistake by doing the work without a permit. But again, he hired us, to come in, and we have a plan before you that meets all the compliance of the City of Milford regulations. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Sulkis, do you have comment on the petition?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board for the petitioner? Mr. Grant?
I have a question. Our regulations state that basically the site's supposed to be enclosed, or, you know, if you're driving by, you're not supposed to see everything. I don't know if I missed it on the drawings or not. Is there going to be a fence along the road
No, sir.
to shield the you know, what's going on stored in behind it?
The only buffer, again, is between the residents, but there is
In the
no
back.
fence along the street line. If that's a requirement, I'm sure he'd be happy to put a fence up of some sort.
Yeah, because the site's supposed to basically, it's supposed to be screened on all sides. I'm not sure exactly. I guess it'd be a question for Mr. Salkis as to what does screen mean.
In various parts of our regulations, it talks about screening, and screening could be anything from a wall to fencing to landscaping. So, for instance, in the CDD 2 zone and the MCDD zone, we have a requirement that parking that abuts the sidewalk has to be screened, and those particular zones talk about it could be a wall, it could be landscaping, it could be, you know, fencing. So, with that in mind, you'd have to sort of make a judgment.
All right, so my question would be is, all right, like I said on the plans, is there any screening along the street?
No.
No.
Any further questions for the petitioner? Mr. Marlowe?
Just on the site itself, is the intent to strip all the topsoil off this site and stockpile that and then put some sort of processed material down for this operation to happen?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Commissioner Marlowe. He's already done all the work.
Okay.
It was wooded. We cannot tell how much material was removed, the topsoil, but it's pretty much processed, stripped, and now we're putting in the drainage. We're making everything in accordance.
Okay. So, also, is it going to be any type of retail operation there, where I see it says merchandise here? Are you selling topsoil from here, so a contractor could come in and buy topsoil from this company?
On occasion, what I understand, he will be selling it to contractors, but it's not going to be where there's people coming in and out every day.
Right.
He'll probably deliver more than likely to a contractor. He'll be a subcontractor, so if they need a load of process or material, whatever it may be, he'll be taking that material and selling it to the contractor.
Sure.
But no, it's not going to be a retail operation where people are coming in and out like Kew Gardens to
Right.
pick up a...
And there'll be no crushing of any material here,
There
correct?
will not be any crushing at all, even though he would have liked to.
Sure.
And I could assure you, he said that he will not do a crushing operation. It's only for, again, the storage of materials and using it for various projects. He's more of a subcontractor than a
Sure.
general contractor.
Sure. Okay, and just one last question is just, with the dumpsters, we're talking just strictly empty. We're not transferring material or anything. We're not bringing full dumpsters and dumping them and transferring material from one dumpster to another.
No, again, he's going to be renting them out.
Okay.
And again, by renting them out, he hopes that they should be off the site
Right.
in lieu of staying on site, but it's not going to be for materials.
So it's not going to be, okay, I've got this full dumpster, now I'm going to take it back to my yard and sort it.
Right.
And then go from there.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there additional questions for the petitioner? Mr. Mead?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Why does he need hours of operation on Sunday? I mean, for his type of work, it should only, Saturday maybe half a day, but, I know, unless he's doing snow plowing, he has to get his equipment out, but not for, separating topsoil.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Commissioner Mead. Again, he asked for the Sunday because He's very busy with a lot of different projects, and he may have to be on site to get his machines ready or take the material, but I don't believe it's going to be the norm. It's going to be more of the Monday through Saturday is the norm, and Sunday, I think he'll be watching football or something, hopefully, but no, it's not the norm. We just put that in because we did not want to interpret that it's not going to be, he will be there maybe on occasion for Sundays. I don't think it's going to be a steady diet. And we could make sure it's not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there further questions for the petitioner from the board? Mr. Quish.
Question on the soil processing. Can you describe what that would entail?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Commissioner Quish, it's basically the soil processing. It's going to be processed stone, topsoil. He's not going to be crushing. It's going to be material used for sub-base and whatever else that he's going to be able to use, but no crushing. There's not going to be crushing machines. It's more of, again, for subcontracting, for storage. And he has bins over there, and those bins will be loaded with various types of material.
But so he will bring in soil and then run it through a sifter to separate stone from topsoil?
Pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Are there further questions for the petitioner from the board? Seeing none, at this time, we would open this portion of the hearing open to public comment. If there is anyone that wishes to be heard either in favor or against this petition, I would ask that when I ask for people in favor or then ask for people opposed, please approach the podium. Please clearly state your name and address, spelling your last name. Please address all of your comments to the commission. If your comments have been previously presented by another speaker, please refrain from repeating. Please simply state you are in accordance or agreement with the previous speaker. Please keep your comments as clear and succinct as a manner as possible. And I ask that the first time you come to speak, you keep your comments to under 3 minutes. If you wish to speak longer than that, I ask that you then yield the microphone to other members of the public that wish to speak, and we will certainly give you another opportunity to speak after everyone has spoken that wished to be heard. That said, is there anyone that wishes to be heard in favor of this application? Seeing no one, is there anyone that wishes to be heard in opposition to this application? Good evening, ma'am.
Sharon Chicos, 20 Partridge Lane, Milford. My property abuts the petition site over here. And in April, it was horrendous. He took down every branch, every tree in sight, leveled everything. The noise was incredible, and this was 7 days a week. So it was Sunday, it was Saturday, it was 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. The dust was incredible, so I don't know what a little watering machine or a little water truck would do to hose down and keep the dust from coming into our property. We have a back deck that overlooks the backyard, and you couldn't even sit out there because it's covered with dust. In 2002, the Milford Power Plant planted, I think it was 14-foot trees all along our property line to buffer so we don't have to see them. Keeps down the noise, keeps down the dust. And since this person came in and cleared the property, we can see straight through to the power plant again. So that petition to get plantings and a berm put in, that's essential to this project. And he said various plantings. I'd like to know exactly what are you going to plant? A little, shrub? We need large trees to buffer the noise, the dust, and it's just, we can see right through, which in 2002 we petitioned to get all these trees put in. Gail Schlossberg was involved, Mayor Riccitelli was involved. So the precedent has been set. You need to have a buffer zone with trees, plantings to protect our property and make everything cohesive so we can all live together. But if he doesn't do that, then this is going to be ridiculous, because we are very close to that property. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard in opposition to the petition? Good evening.
Yes, good evening. I am Attorney Jennifer Mangello. I represent Linda Abe and Mike Abelstead. They live at 64 Tranquility Way in Milford, which is the lot. They are directly behind this lot. Since last March, I apologize. Since last March, when Malaco construction began, my clients have been unable to enjoy their home. They have essentially felt like prisoners in what was once their dream home. They called planning and zoning, the police, town hall. The only response that they got was a cease and desist order, which was completely disregarded. After initially meeting with my clients, I said, keep a track of when they're there, what kind of operations are they doing. It was essentially pointless because every single day they were there. There is damage to their property. There are now sinkholes that have gotten increasingly larger as Malaco has continued their activity against town ordinance on this lot. There is noise pollution daily, as the previous woman stated, as early as 5 in the morning until late into the evenings. There are the use of heavy machinery, trucks, back and forth. We're not talking like a little pickup truck, we're talking large trucks, lifting, dumping. They are bringing in on those dumpsters, in those large dumpsters, which they previously stated that that's not what they plan to do, but that has what they have been doing for the past 6 months. Bringing in rock, bringing in soil. They have clear cut all the trees, so like the previous neighbor, my clients as well, their pool is about 20 feet from this line. So they have not been able to sit on their backyard, and enjoy their home. The smell of the diesel, the large clouds of dusts. They can't open their windows because if they open their windows for an hour or two, the sills are covered in dirt. They also, my client made a phone call to the health department. I don't have a copy of that. I was unable to research that. When the health department came out, they said that the piles were too high to be safe. My clients have asthma, so this has just even exacerbated their conditions with regards to the smell, the dirt, the dust. There's also vibrations in their home. They feel their home actually shaking from the movement of the trucks and the machinery. It's like it's taking place right inside their own home. My client has just really felt like she hasn't even been able to enjoy even the inside of her home, never mind take a step outside. Her deck is covered in dirt. She hasn't been able to use her pool all summer because, again, there's a constant layer of dirt, film of dirt on top of the pool. No matter how many times they wash it, clean it, filter it, they haven't even been able to enter it. Again, as mentioned before, they cut down all the trees, so they have a nice view of the operations, which are dumpsters, trucks, a trailer that was not supposed to be on site. And the biggest thing here is that not only my clients, but the surrounding neighbors, this is negatively affecting the quality of their life. Their quality of their life has gone down so far because they can't even walk outside and enjoy it without the smell, without the noise. And another question that hasn't been addressed is, what about the value to their home? My clients, and I have a picture just to take a look. My clients have a beautiful home with a beautiful backyard that now opens directly into a storage facility, or storage facility to hold rocks and dirt and stuff. What's going to happen? She can't just sell her house and move out. What's going to happen? Somebody's going to walk in. They're going to say, I don't want that in my backyard. So what about the devaluation to the property of all of these surrounding homes? And it's easy for Malaco to come in and make their noise, make their mess, leave their large pile of dirt, and leave because this isn't their home. They don't live here. This is a site that they're going to come, they're going to work, they're going to make a lot of noise Monday through Sunday, and they get to go home and enjoy their nice, quiet home and their nice, quiet neighborhood, which is what these neighbors had before. You know, the power plant, there is noise and, you know, smells from there, taking down all the trees. Now we have a nice view of that. Now we also have that added noise on top of all of this construction. I would like to give the Planning and Zoning Commission a copy of that. There are 6 neighbors that were not able to attend today that all wrote letters objecting to this. I don't know who you would like me to submit that to. Okay. As well as I have several, apologize here, I also have several photographs that show the dust, the trees, the cutting. Need to look at, I don't know.
Bring them forward. Thank you.
I just have a few comments in response to the presentation. The Malaco has presented that they have tried to have been a good neighbor. Well, they have not tried to have been a good neighbor because they received a cease and desist order, and I just reconfirmed with my client as well upon listening to this, the activity has never stopped. It's never stopped. They have walked onto her property at times while clear cutting. They are rude. They give her nasty looks. Because they know that she's called the cops several times on them to try and get them to stop this, to try and be able to enjoy her home. They plan to screen soil at this location. Already there are clouds. I apologize, I could not locate that particular picture, but like literally like a huge cloud that you could almost not even see through, that just drifts up into the air and straight into their house and the surrounding homes. That's not going to stop if they're going to be continuing to sift this. And the dumpsters, as stated, the dumpsters will be rarely moved in and out. That's been happening on a continuous basis. It's being brought in, it's being brought out. There are contractors, other trucks coming to pick up materials, soil, dirt, rocks, and they are taking it away, and they're dropping it off, and they are taking it away. So I don't see how that's going to end. And one of the biggest questions too here is that if they are proposing what sounds very nice, we're going to keep it clean, we're going to keep it neat, we're not going to make a lot of noise, we're not going to use it that often. I find it very hard to believe when they have completely disregarded what the town has already stated, what the limitations on this lot has already been for the past 6 months, and now all of a sudden they're going to comply, now because they're getting complaints, now because they're being told not to do it. They haven't listened for 6 months. What's to stop them from continuing to do this? Quite frankly, it is unfair to the neighbors, it is unfair to my clients for them to not be able to enjoy their home, to see a serious decrease in value to their home. This lot was zoned limited commercial. As the previous neighbor spoke, I apologize, I don't remember her name. There was a buffer put in place for the power plant, and now we're adding to this. And I really hope that on my client's behalf and the neighbors in this neighborhood that are gonna have to live with this every day, that you do not approve this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. May we please have your name again for the record and the name of your clients, please?
My name is Attorney Jennifer Mangello. I represent Linda Abe and Mike Abelstead. And again, they live at 64 Tranquility Way, which directly abuts the lot in question right now.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public that wish to be heard in opposition to the petition? Please come forward.
My name is Edward Chickos. I live at 20 Partridge Lane. I'm friends with all the Malicos, so this is pretty tough, but all along this, young Jim has said he would work with me and build a berm behind my house. So I really don't want to see his equipment, and I think that a berm would help. And he has, on several occasions, said he would help, and he would do that, but he was shut down. So, also, a lot of times in the winter with the cooling towers from the power plant, there's like 10 feet of visibility on Shetland Drive where you can't see anything. And now without no trees there, a lot of that vapor comes right up the hill. So it's really hard, you know, when it's real cold out for traffic on that street. But also, if he's not working there and the wind's out of the north, a lot of that dust comes right up that hill towards our houses. So our houses do get a lot of dust on it, but you know, I'm friends with Jim, and Jim says he would do a berm. And I have a picture here, I would, before the lot was cut, and something that I drew here in yellow that I can leave with the board, that on the 100-foot buffer behind my property, which is city-owned, and the city has the trees on it, if Malico could put 15, 20-foot high mound of dirt, so it would block our view and the neighbor, because, you know, at least I got the trees behind my house. The neighbor, she's got nothing there, but, okay, and that's all I got to say. Could I bring this up?
Certainly, please come forward. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Are there additional members of the public that wish to be heard in opposition to the petition? Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I live at 64 Tranquility Way, and I just feel I needed to
Could we have your
speak.
name, please? And
I'm
if you could
sorry.
speak into the microphone.
My name is Linda Abe, and I live at 64 Tranquility Way. And I know my attorney had spoken, but I just feel in my heart I really need to express to you how I'm living. I bought the house to raise my 3 children and to live peaceful. Since Malico has come in, we do not sleep. My kids have problems with allergies. I have a beautiful yard, beautiful pool that I cannot use. My chandelier is shaking 6 o'clock in the morning because we're awoken to rocks being dumped into the back of a dump truck. And I don't want to repeat, but this is so unfair to us, so unfair. All I want to do is raise my family quiet, peacefully in Milford, and have my yard to enjoy and let my kids go out to play. That's all I want. They are directly in my backyard. The dust is unbelievable. I cannot open a window. I remember on April break, I had to leave my home because of the beeping of the trucks backing up, the dirt flying everywhere because the soil was being separated. It's just unbelievable. My house is a construction zone from 5 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. I went to the city, I've called the police, I begged for help. I had real estate come in to look at my home. They told me, don't even try to sell it. I've lost everything. Me and my husband work very hard for what we have. And all I want to do is raise my 3 kids. Please, please find it in your hearts to feel the way I'm living. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there additional members of the public that wish to be heard in opposition to the application? Good evening, sir.
My name is Louis D'Amato, and I have offices at 183 Quarry Road in Milford, and we have a building business called D'Amato Brothers Builders. We've been in business for 56 years. The reason I elected to come up now and speak in favor of this project is that I wanted to listen to what the opposition had to say, because I am the owner of the next piece over, which abuts this private road. It's some 6 acres, not 2 acres, but 6 acres. And I'm in the process now of preparing a plan to go in there and put a series of buildings in. So I just want to make you aware of that. With reference to the Malicos, this is a nice family. They've been in business for over 60 years. I did business with the grandfather, I did business with his son, and now I do business with his son. They're very nice people, they work hard, and this piece of property is zoned for what it's used for, what it's going to be used for, right? I mean, if these people bought this property and they knew, and if they had an attorney, I don't know if this young lady was this woman's attorney, but she had an obligation to tell these people that this property could be used in this manner. I have, in Milford, I have about 500,000 square feet of property, right? And we abut residential properties. And we took the necessary steps to make sure that we did the proper thing so that the neighbors could live in harmony. But if you buy a piece and you know that's an industrial piece and all those things can be done, you really haven't got a complaint here. You got a problem, but you don't have a complaint. So I will tell you that I believe that this should be granted. This is the proper use of this property, and if they take the proper precautions, that I don't think there will be a problem connected to it. These are good people, and they have the right to develop their property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to be heard at this time in opposition to the application? Seeing none, Mr. Macaluso, if you wish to respond to the comments raised by the public at this time, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe Mrs. Chico's wanted to know the buffer, the species that are being planted. Again, I said there are various trees being planted in that area, all evergreens. They're going to grow to 30 to 50 feet. We're doing spruce, white pines, arborvitaes. It's a 35-foot buffer. We're going up about 5 feet. And we are trying to protect the property owners. Unfortunately, again, Mr. Malico did go in there and work, no doubt about it. But he stopped work in May of this year. I believe, and again, the neighbors are blaming Mr. Malico when it's the adjacent property on the west that is a contractor that's doing work, cutting wood, blasted, all these various things. So Attorney Mangillo contacted Attorney Wynn Smith, Mr. Malico's attorney, and we tried to get a meeting so this way the neighborhood knows what we're trying to achieve. We reached out to him before this meeting, and I wanted to meet with them because, as you know, when the neighbors don't know what's going on, I wanted to sit down and explain, here's what we're doing, what would you like, what kind of concessions, and we'd be able to do it. We were hired after the fact. My firm has been around 100 years. I've come before you many times. Our reputation precedes us, and we're not going to do something that is not in accordance with the City of Milford regulations, period. We're professional engineers, and I plan to do other work. So we're not trying to slip under anything under here. Again, if there's some facts that you want us to talk to Mr. Malico to, change something, which we try to do with the neighbors again, and they wouldn't talk to us before this meeting. We were even going to postpone this meeting for 2 weeks, so we had the chance to talk to everybody. So in all good faith effort, we really tried. So that's why we continued with the meeting tonight. As far as all the dust, everything that's going on, I cannot believe, again, this work is being done on Mr. Malico's property. He assured us he's not doing anything on there. What he did in the past, he did in the past. What he's going to do in the future, he's going to adhere to, based on the regulations, based on your approvals, based on everything, based on meeting with the property owners. So when I said he's a good neighbor, he will be a good neighbor. What he did in the past, we have no control. But we will put in the buffer. We will put as much, if we have to go more than 5 feet, we'll go more than 5 feet. We have to understand what they really want. So with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, we would entertain you respectfully approving this evening, or tabling it so we have a chance to talk to the neighbors to come up with some concessions. I'm going to put that on the table without a denial by prejudice. So I don't want to see that happen. I think we can come to an agreement, as Mr. D'Amato said. It's in a zone that's, this is the use. It is a special permit, I understand, but it's your decision. It's allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Macaluso. At this point, are there any members of the public that wish to speak in response to the comments just provided to us by Mr. Macaluso? Good evening again, ma'am.
Yes, I would ask further questions of this gentleman. So for the berm that you're going to build and the 5-foot trees that you're going to plant on top of that will grow to 30 to 40 feet. In the meantime, the dust is still going to be coming up and over the berm because we're uphill from there. Is your client going to be providing power washing services every year to get rid of all this dust? Because the one water truck is not going to keep down all the dust. So who do I call when my house needs to be power washed? Once a year, twice a year? Those are the issues that I have right now, and we have never heard of a meeting being called either. This is the first I'm hearing of a meeting, a get-together to talk about this ahead of time. So I would like those answers, those questions addressed.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other members of the public that wish to provide comment in response to that of Mr. Macaluso? Seeing none, Mr. Macaluso, do you wish to be heard in rebuttal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Mrs. Chico's comments. We talked to Attorney Mongillo. I didn't talk to Mrs. Chico's. I talked to, Attorney Winsmith talked to Attorney Mongillo to set up this meeting. We didn't know there were other neighbors that were against the project. So this is, surprise to us. We thought it was just the one neighbor. As far as again, I believe that's why we want to sit down, because she misunderstands what we're trying to construct in the berm. It's not 5-foot trees, it's a 5-foot high berm, and then we're putting arborvitaes and white spruce and other plantings. And I'm sure we could come up with a species height and everything else. That's why I wanted to sit down. As far as the water control, there is no water on the property. We did that purposely for utilities, but we could look at that as well. Maybe put a water line with a hydrant, and there's other ways of doing it. And I have to talk to, in all fairness, I have to talk to our client and how he's going to control that. But that's why they hired us again, to present this and try to rectify it. So we're here to try to rectify it, not try to do anything more than that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Macaluso. At this time, are there any questions for the petitioner? Mr. Dolan.
I actually have a question for Attorney Mongillo. Would this be the appropriate time to ask her?
Sure. Attorney Mongillo, do you mind fielding a question?
Hi, Ms. Mongillo. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I know that you don't represent all of the neighbors. I believe you only represent 2. But it's my experience that when a developer comes before the board, it's a good exercise if they sit down with the neighbors and their representatives to talk about the project, answer any questions that the neighbors may have. Mr. Macaluso said he reached out to you. I don't know if he did or he didn't, or if you were aware of it. But right now, would you have an objection to sitting down with him at some point in the future, maybe leaving this open? You guys can discuss any concerns that your neighbors have. He can talk to you about it, answer any questions, and then you guys can come back here and leave it open. Would you have any objection to sitting down with him, or have you thought about it, or what are your thoughts?
I have no objection. I received a phone call yesterday afternoon. I, of course, brought it to my client, and my client felt that at this point she wanted to proceed with addressing the Planning and Zoning Commission concerning everything that has occurred. It's been said many times that Malaco Construction wishes to be a polite neighbor. However, they have not ceased. I have logs from my client and weekly phone calls, emails, updates saying it hasn't stopped, it hasn't stopped, it hasn't stopped. So they obviously knew that this was affecting not just my client, but the surrounding homes as well. So it didn't exactly leave a feeling of good faith with my client, which is why she proceeded. And again, I only got the phone call yesterday afternoon. I did say, if you have more information from what I've obtained from Planning and Zoning, here's my email, here's my phone, fax it over to me if I have more information. I mean, if it is the Commission's desire to postpone this and for us to engage in a meeting, I would absolutely be willing to do that. Again, I only represent my clients, but and this one particular lot, but I would certainly be willing to reach out to the other neighbors as well, inform them of the meeting, to get as much insight into this as possible.
All right. Well, I can't speak for the entire board, but I mean, I certainly think it would be worthwhile. I think it would be worthwhile for everyone to sit down, pick a mutually agreeable time and place. The board can speak to all of the neighbors directly. You should certainly be there, Attorney Mongillo, anyone who wants to attend, and then you can discuss, and then we can come back here and we'll leave it the public, we'll leave the record open, and any other concerns can be hashed out. That's my preference, but again, I can't speak for the entire board.
Thank you, Attorney Mongillo. At this point, I certainly would be willing to entertain a motion to table this matter for 2 weeks and encourage the petitioner and the petitioner's attorney to meet with the neighbors and meet with those neighbors represented by counsel to make their best efforts to address any concerns. We just ask that they have a dialogue and come back in 2 weeks and report to us as to what, if anything, was agreed to or not agreed to. I would make that motion to table with that suggestion to the parties and the interested neighbors. Would there be a second to that motion? Mr. Marlowe. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? We will revisit the matter in 2 weeks. And again, Mr. Macaluso, I encourage you to reach out again to Attorney Mongillo. And Attorney Mongillo, I encourage you to participate with an open mind, fully and fairly, both sides, in discussing your concerns about this project. And I would ask Attorney Mongillo that you return as well, and the neighbors return as well to the next meeting, so we can hear what, if anything, was discussed and what, if anything, was agreed upon. Mr. Macaluso, do you have further comment?
No, I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. I thank you, and we hope to resolve this and be back here on the 20th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have one other
appreciate
thing
your
to add.
courtesy.
If
Mr.
you would,
Grant.
look at the screening requirements for that zone.
Yes, we have
Okay.
screening on the sides, Mr. Grant, but not the screening of fences. We do have, and I'll talk to Mr. Sulkus.
Yeah, look at it for all four sides.
Yes, we'll talk, I'll be happy to talk to Mr. Sulkus and get his opinion.
Yeah, I'd also like to add something on this one, okay? If you look at...
Mr. Lutz.
Yeah, if you look at the standards, the regulations for this board, Section 5.14.5, Section 10, it says, "The board strongly recommends that the developers begin installing the entire buffer on a parcel well in advance of the planned activities for the balance of the parcel. As smaller plantings can be utilized, the buffer may then exceed the required specification at the time that the CO is requested." So my opinion is what happened here, because it started early, okay, there wasn't an opportunity to establish that buffer in the back there. And just as a thought, you might want to consider saying that the buffer has to be installed so that folks can get a better idea of what it's going to be like.
Thank you, Mr. Lutz. Mr. Panzella?
Yes, I'd like to make a statement that goes out to the residents. And basically, I'm more of the opinion that this should be approved, basically because they're meeting all the regulations and everything is good. So personally, I think that he's within his rights to have his own property and to work there. I understand what the problem is with you people also. And I believe that everybody here does need to work together to make it all work for everybody, because this is very similar to one of our problems that we have here all the time, is the 830Gs with the people that are opposed to affordable housing going in it, where everybody's at odds with each other. But like Mr. Dolan says, everything that works together, you know, if we could get, you know, a solution to the problem, I think it just makes things that much better.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is 604 Naugatuck Avenue. That is the petition of Maria Torres. This was tabled from our last meeting. Is Ms. Torres here, or anyone on behalf of that application?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Sulkus.
That item remains tabled.
That remains tabled, okay. The next item on the agenda is 14-26 Gulf Street, Phase 2. This is the petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for special permit and site plan review approval to construct 7 residential units under Connecticut General Statutes 8-30G on map 66, block 813, parcels 13 and 14, of which 296 LLC is the owner. And if I could ask that everyone having a conversation could take it out into the lobby while we continue the meeting. Thank you. Good evening, Attorney Lynch. At this point, we've already closed the public hearing for deliberation and thought by the board. At this point, are there any additional comments by Mr. Sulkus on the petition?
None at this time.
Okay. At this point, does anyone wish to make a motion relative to this application? Seeing none, I will move to approve the petition subject to any suggestions by the city engineer or any other city departments. Is there a second? Mr. Lutz. Does anyone wish to be heard on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Quish is opposed. The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lynch. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing, which has been closed on proposed text regulation changes. This is the petition of Kevin Crusaden Esquire for a change in the zoning regulations to Article 3, Section 3.1.4.1, Figure 2 as to height, Article 11, Section 2, definitions, base flood elevation, building height within a flood hazard area, building height in SFHA zones, AE or VE, design flood elevation, freeboard, and height measuring point. This matter has been subject to public hearing, which has been closed. Does anyone wish to make a motion relative to these proposed text regulation changes? Mr. Grant.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the proposed text regulation change.
Is there a second? Mr. Marlowe, does anyone wish to be heard on the motion? Mr. Dolan?
I just don't believe I was here when this was heard, to be honest, I did not go through the records, so I'm going to have to abstain.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. Does anyone else wish to be heard on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question to a vote. This is Mr. Grant's motion to deny the proposed text regulation changes. All in favor of denying the petition? All opposed to denying the petition? The motion passes. The petition is denied. The next item on our agenda are liaison reports. Do we have any liaison reports this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Regulations Subcommittee. Mr. Grant, do you have a report this evening?
No, nothing at this time.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for November 1st, 2016. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Dolan, is there a second? Mr. Grant, all in favor? Aye. The motion passes. Next is the approval, I'm sorry, for the 15th?
Yeah.
Next is the approval of minutes for the November 15, 2016 meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Grant, is there a second? Mr. Marlowe, all in favor? The motion passes. The minutes are approved. Next is the Chair's report. The only item I have this evening is to wish a happy birthday to our wonderful Board Secretary, Phyllis. And we have a
The New York Times tomorrow. I want that Ed.
card and a gift for Phyllis from the board.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
And that concludes the Chair's report this evening. Mr. Sulkus, is there a staff report?
Just very briefly, I had a meeting today at the Council of Governments with OPM. OPM is in charge, among many things, but they're in the process of beginning the process of updating the state plan of conservation development. And when that process is done, we may have some new guidance when it comes time for us when we update our plan of conservation and development. So just letting you know that.
When is the next edition or version of our plan of conservation due or coming out?
I believe we're good till 2022.
Thank you.
But, probably, a couple of years before that would be when we would actually start our update.
Thank you, Mr. Selkis. At this point, the Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there such a motion? Mr. Marlowe, is there a second? Mr. Panzella, all in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you.